Oh.
The Talking Leeds podcast with Aaron Marshall and George Brooke.
Hello and welcome along to Talking Leeds, the Talking Leeds podcast with me, Aaron Marshall, and the bearded peacock, Mr. George Brooke. Good afternoon, George. How are you, sir?
Well, good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon, Aaron. Good middle of the night, wherever you're watching this, listen to this, whatever the time is. Good afternoon, good hello to you guys. Everybody watching, and hello to Aaron, of course. I'm okay this evening. Aaron, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. And welcome along to those who are watching live on YouTube, around the world, because we're global.
I think we're especially big in Norway, aren't we? Have
we
you
are
booked,
big.
Have you booked your tickets yet, mate?
No. We're waiting for
I think it's Denmark, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. Well, these are very expensive cities. Oslo is a very expensive city. I think you're talking 10 quid for a pint of lager over there. So if the fans of Norway want us to come over, they're going to have to pay for us to go.
We all look for part of a trip to Denmark, won't we?
We'd love it.
Or something like that. Well, good evening to Tom. How are you doing? And good evening to Clive. Like Clive says, if you ain't subbed already, let's get another 10. Are we on near 400? Are we, Aaron?
Yeah, we want to get to 500 by the end of the season, so 10 today would be fantastic. So if you are listening on the pod, because a lot of you do, the thousands of you which do, go on YouTube, search Talking Leeds, and give us a like and a subscribe on there, and you can get a bell notification to say we're live if you want to do that. But you keep downloading thousands of you.
Absolutely. I mean, Tom, thank you very much, mate, because you've come from my channel as well. So thank you for coming across and joining. From the Bearded Peacock. I did do a sort of a match reaction for the Villa game, Aaron, which I know we will touch on, won't we? And a slightly disappointing tinge to it, wasn't it, in the end?
No, not really. I was delighted with the point.
Oh, well, it's the pleasure's all mine, Tom.
All right. Hang on a minute. If you're going to go down this route, I'm just going to pull up the LS11 WhatsApp group.
Oh, no.
to quote, if you want me to, I have it ready. I have lots of things in my arsenal.
I think that's, the viewers might not want to hear my inner thoughts on Saturday, but who knows? But I just, obviously I was, you know what it was. Good evening, Jimbo. But yes, of course, I was a little bit frustrated. I think what it was, Aaron, was the concession of the late goal. The concession.
Listen, you're right. You're absolutely right, George, and I understand where you're coming from, but let me put this into perspective. You've got a point away at Villa, who are sitting third in the Premier League. We're a newly promoted side. We've gone there. We matched them toe for toe. There was a lot of pressure in that Villa second half. In that second half, there was so much points, so much possession for them, and they were just in complete control. And ultimately, when you go into a harder league, when you step up, it ultimately gets harder. This isn't the Championship. You can't ride out for a 1-0 win now these days, because ultimately you're going to get caught out. And I think a point away at Villa is fantastic. That could be the point which catapults us to safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you never know. You never know, Aaron. But...
And like what Jimbo has said, George, I was off with that goal, would have taken a draw beforehand, though, as would you. You would as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I know. I would have taken a point at Villa Park ultimately at the end of it, and I would have done.
So what's the problem?
The problem is, for me, Aaron, is the concession of the late goal. It did not have to happen. you know, and
Yeah.
in respect, they say, I want to hear my inner, George's inner thoughts. So yeah, so here they are, and we speak out and we say, yeah, I wasn't happy with the draw because I think ultimately, a point. This is my whole thing with Daniel Farke, Aaron, and it mirrored the Everton game. It mirrored the Everton game where, basically, it was a first half to die for, wasn't it? 1-0 up at Villa Park. The goal was fucking.
Pardon, use your language, please. It's pardon your language, please.
It was. I apologise for that. I was just getting a bit excited about it. But basically, it was a rocket, wasn't it? It was an absolute blast. And,
your inner thoughts.
Oh, yeah. No, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, my inner thoughts was a real blast. But, that's what you can really dig in.
Well, I am prepared.
That might not be. It might not be about that goal. It might not be PG, Aaron. If the inner thought.
The majority of things you put on the LS11 group WhatsApp is not appropriate for this time of day. But I think I'm looking here. I'm looking through the chats. Ryan frustrating again, not holding to a lead, too passive, but a good point away against a team in third, says Mr. Wilson. But you come in literally 34 seconds after Ryan puts that in and goes, just every single away game, a point is okay. Absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
You say it's boring. We're going nowhere.
With what and let me clarify this. Obviously, we've looked into my inner thoughts, and I was disappointed because it mirrored the away game at Everton, where it was the first half to die for. We were 1-0 up. The goal was an absolute rocket. It was sexual, wasn't it? Almost, Jan, the way he caressed the ball into the goal from 33 yards out. I mean, wow, what an effort that was. But then, he scores, and we played well the first half. My brother was watching it. He was saying to me, "You're playing well here. I don't think you're going to go down." And I'm thinking, I don't know about that. And then we did all right. But here's the thing, Aaron. This is why I get frustrated every single time with Mr. Farke. Is why can't you hold the lead? Yeah, great, fine. Okay. Go and get the second.
But the problem is they couldn't go and get the second, because if you look at the statistics look at the stats from the second half, it was non-stop Villa pressure. Where do you expect him to miraculously go and score a goal when they've got 72% possession of the ball of Aston Villa or whatever it was? How the hell? So you can't blame this on him. And as Ryan said in our group chat, to be fair, George, you were never happy with Farke, even when he got us 100 points last season. You're still not happy. I just think the reality check here is this, George, and I'm calling you out on this publicly now.
Oh, it's a call.
I am calling you out publicly.
Oh, wow. Hello.
You can't. Let's have a little thing. Let's just have a debrief. Ultimately, we are a newly promoted side. From the last 2 seasons, every promoted side which has been promoted into the Premier League has been relegated. Everyone over the last couple of years. We and Sunderland are on course to break that mould. Then now, like what Jimbo said there, you look now around us. They're talking about Nottingham Forest. They're talking about Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham United as relegation candidates. The media are not talking about Leeds anymore being one of those teams to be relegated this season. And I said to you, and every single Leeds United fan, all 8 of you who are listening live or watching live on YouTube, please get in the comments and say 17th would have been a fantastic achievement this season. And every one of them will comment and say, yes, it was. And that is still the goal, George. You cannot say Leeds just need to be, they should be challenging for Europe. They should be top 10.
No.
Leeds just need to finish 17th this season, break that mold. That was the task set out by the 49ers, Daniel Farker. And where are Leeds sitting at the moment?
I think we're 15th, aren't we?
And how many points clear are they of West Ham United?
6.
And we've only got City to come.
City
To come at the weekend, and that is it. Your big boys are out of the way. You don't have to play any of your top 4, with the exception of Manchester United, but they're not top 4, they're crap. You don't have to worry about them because, you know, we've got the big ones, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, your City, out of the way. And look at this. It's like what Tom says here. Potentially, we're looking at a quarter-final in 17th. But we could go better than that, Tom. We can go better. We can go to a semi-final at Wembley and finish 17th. And that, for me, George, as a long-standing season ticket holder who's had to go down to bloody Wembley and watch Leeds lose in the League One playoff final, in the Championship playoff final, and also in the Championship playoff final where we went to bloody Cardiff and lost. That, for me, will be such an amazing, iconic day for all Leeds United fans to go to Wembley, potentially in a semi-final of the FA Cup. And that's a great day out for us all. We will enjoy it and we'll embrace it and we'll remember it forever without having to go down there and think, oh, God, it's crap on the way back. We can just enjoy it. But ultimately, what I'm saying here is, George, 17th and a potential FA Cup quarter-final, FA Cup semi-final is a fantastic season for Leeds United.
Well, it is, but exactly. But like Tom says, you know, if it happens, intro spectator, if it happens, and hello to you. I hope you're very, very well, and thank you for coming from my channel as well. It's always good to see people coming from my channel to come to another great channel with myself and Aaron as well. But exactly, if it happens, Aaron, will it happen that? And with Mr. Fark in charge, we're on course.
Yes, it will. It will, because they've got a favourable. By the way, fair play to Leeds. They sold out the FA Cup 5th round or whatever it is against Norwich at home. Sold out like that, which is impressive. I think I did see on social media that Norwich fans were a little bit annoyed that they didn't get more tickets, but Leeds have got more. But they could get to potentially. They've got a very, very, very favourable cup tie. I think it's quarterfinals. We haven't been at the quarterfinals in a long time in the FA Cup, so it will be something which is, again, you know, building. But going back to the Premier League, you keep bashing Fark. We don't need to bashing him anymore because he's done a fantastic job. If you lose, every Leeds United fan in the world would have taken a point away at Villa. You cannot say that was a bad result. Yes, I understand. Yes, we should have held on. But ultimately, when you've got that pressure and the quality, which Villa were poor, by the way, but they do have quality within their team. And this is the Premier League. Listen, if this was Preston away and we were winning 1-0 and we lost last year, I think, yeah, we've got a concern to be a little bit concerned. Or if it was bloody, I don't know, Hull or anybody, Sheffield Wednesday, anybody in the Championship, yeah, it's a different matter, but it's a step up. It's a huge step up. It's the quality in the Premier League is massive. And it happens. But
wait. No, of course it happens. But it happens far too often, Aaron. That's my counter argument. We're 1-0 up at Everton. We sit back. We concede in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah,
the same happened again at Villa. And you have to take each game as it is. And you said, where do we go and get that second goal? I'll tell you exactly where, mate, we get that second goal. It's through putting Dan James on with the pace he can get us up the pitch to get us that goal. Now, we really got the goal through Mecha. Now, Mecha the commentary that I was listening to was a little bit harsh that he should have scored. I don't think he should have done. But if he puts the ball in the net, we're 2-0 up. But the what you need to do was be proactive. This is what I'm saying. Be proactive, Daniel, and get the attacking players on the pitch instead of sitting back.
But no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Listen, it doesn't work like that. You can't say throw your attackers on when you've got waves and waves of pressure. You've got to be able to soak that up. You've got to sort that midfield out. You've got to sort that defense out. You can't say, oh, because we need to get a goal and we need to win the game. You could go and then lose the game 2-1, 3-1, whatever. But can I just also add as well, 7 players who started against Aston Villa were 7 starters in the Championship.
Yeah, of course. And you've
got
to
look at the quality. Look at the quality we've got. And you know my opinions. I was looking at Strike was dreadful in the first half. You've got Joe Rodon, Carl Darlow as well. Maybe he should have done better with the goal. You just don't know. You look at Ampadu, Gruev, Aronson as well. You've got those are the 7. You had Darlow, Bogle, Rodon, Strauch, Gruev, Ampadu, Aronson, 7 starters in the Championship last season. They've gone to the top 3 side in England and got a point. That is a point worth celebrating because that point is getting us further to safety than anything else. It could have been 3, it should have been 3, whatever, but ultimately it would have snapped our hands off at the start of that game for a point.
You would have done, and I suppose,
and that's my point. That's my point.
Of course, it is an evening to Colin. Good afternoon, or good evening, good night, good morning, and basically, I think I understand the point you're saying, Aaron, but ultimately, my point is, yeah, of course. But when does a point become not good enough?
When you're away from home, when you are away from home, George, you take, when you are away from home, home different. You're away from home. You've got a point on the road, and you know what, Farke, regardless of that, he set them up brilliantly in the first half. The second half, they were fine. So you can't argue that it's negative when actually it's positive because you've gone away to the 3rd best team in England, taken a point in their own backyard, and every single one of us, including all those 11 players who started that game, would have taken that taken that all day long. The board, everybody. Yes, we should have won the game. Yes, we should. I agree. But in hindsight, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we got a point. It's not the end of the world.
We didn't lose.
At least we got a point. It was fine. But we
could have easily lost that game, George. We could have easily lost it.
Could have done. And
easily.
It is just a slight frustration that you concede late, but ultimately you got a point. We got out of it. We're 2 games against Chelsea, Villa. The last one is City at home. We got 2 points out of the 2 games, which is absolutely fine. Away 2 really difficult, hard. 2 really difficult away games, which we got the point on the board in both occasions. But the slight frustration for me is, looking longer term, we need to be looking at where can we win those kind of games, and that is where we could have won that game on a switch.
You're right, and I know the BBC put out a bit of a post, didn't they? Our Leeds would be so far up the league, the 7th or whatever it is. But you know what? We don't want to finish 7th, George. Can I tell you why? We don't want to be anywhere near. We don't want anywhere near that European places at the moment. We are not ready for it. If Leeds finish, could you imagine it? It would be jumping for joy if Leeds finished 7th. But in hindsight,
you said you didn't want it just now.
We'd be all jumping for joy. I think, it's fantastic. It'd be a superb season. But if Leeds finish 7th and in a European place next year, you look at what's happened to West Ham United. Look at Forest. Mm-hmm. They've been dreadful this year. You look at those times. The squad depth when you're playing on a Thursday, Sunday, and you're going off to bloody Azerbaijan or wherever you're going in the furthest east of furthest east of Europe. It's pointless because we're not ready. We haven't got the depth. We haven't got the quality to compete in the Premier League. We don't want to be thrown into another competition because we would be expected to do well in Europe because we take thousands of fans everywhere we go, and we can't do it. And it's like what Colin has said: survive this year and build. That's all we need to do. And if we survive again next year, if we finish 15th, let's say we finish 17th this year and finish 15th next year, that's progress. Then from 15th to 12th, then you can start. It's so easy to recruit because then you can say, right, we're a mid-table Premier League side. We're pushing for Europe this season. Come to us. Look at Brentford. Look what they're doing. They're giving Keith Andrews an extension on his contract today because he does a remarkable job. You look at those teams in there, and I'm not saying that we should model ourselves on Brentford. You look at Palace. Palace again in Europe this season struggled in the league.
Yeah.
Newcastle going well in the Champions League, bottom half.
Yeah, but at what point do you want to say, "Oh, that's well and good"? But what point do we then jump to the next level? How long do we sit?
You're looking for this process, George. You're looking at a 3 to 5 year plan. If you can stay in the league for the next 2 to 3 seasons,
I think we will.
Well, let's get to that stage. If you can stay in and around that mid-table area, and then push on, we'll be all right. And I know what you're going to say. If Tottenham are in the Champions League, exactly, Jimbo. Look at them. They're sitting below us, and they're in the last 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah,
exactly. Scandalous.
Well, I mean, we'll wait to see what happens with them, And Tudor is back in there. His first time in the Premier League. Tom says, I do make a good point. He does see where I'm coming from. Thank you, Tom.
No, it doesn't. Because look, if you read the comment, it says something to that Daniel Farke is still a young for a top-level manager, and he's still developing.
And Tom, I haven't forgotten about your comment a bit further up. I will explain the painting behind me if you do want. Now, the painting behind me is actually on the street where this house is, where I live. It's the house. It was actually in my grandma's house, and unbeknownst to her, it was in my grandma's house. She lived not in this house, and she gave it me mum, and then it ended up in this house, and it's actually outside the house here. It's a painted photograph of what's outside. But she didn't know that my mum was going, that she didn't know anything.
Yeah.
About, and it's amazing. She's ended up living where this painting was.
Interesting. There you go. Great little there. So if you're watching or if you're listening on the pod, you won't have a clue, but it's a painting of George's.
It's a painting. So yes, of course. If you're listening, if you're listening, you won't be able to see it. But Tom did ask me, so I just thought I'd just try and clear it up.
Is it oil or watercolor?
No, I think it's watercolor. Now, what it was. Now, I was doing a paint kit. You know those Airfix kits, Aaron? You used to do them when you were younger. I was doing that, and like I said, it was at my grandma's house, at my nana's house. And I'd write I'd be doing this Airfix kit, and the painting was behind me in her house, and it flicked up a little bit of paint, and you can see it there. There's a little dot of paint, which I did when I was, probably about 5 or 6 year old. It was amazing stuff.
There you go.
But thank you for asking me about that, Tom. That's really.
Let's get back to the chats of Leeds. I just want to jump into the comments because there's lots of fantastic comments. Please do keep them coming in. It would not be necessarily surprising if the 49ers said to Farke at the end of the season, thanks now, off you go, because there's no justice, fairness in this. It's business, but equally it could go the other way. Let's have a look here. Villa had scored in the first half and we scored last minute's draw. How would you feel, George? Good question.
Well, it is a good question, Jimbo, and I saw it, and
how would you feel
if Villa had scored in the first?
It doesn't want to say it. It doesn't want to say it.
You'd be happy. Honest, obviously, you'd be happy because it was like the Chelsea. It was completely contrasting, Aaron. Chelsea, it felt like a win. We drew. Villa felt like a loss, and we'd drawn. The same score, but two different overriding emotions for me. Okay. I was slightly disappointed. Ultimately, it didn't matter in the end.
Yeah.
I would have just loved every point is golden now, and 2 point extra would have put us 8 points clear of West Ham. I believe they'll lose on Saturday. People think we might do something on Saturday. We might do because it's Ellen Road, and Ellen Road under the lights. So you know exactly what it's like. It's fabulous.
It is. Look, we'll look at the weekend's fixture a little bit later on in the show. But it's time for this, George. Are you ready for our brand new feature, Top or Flop?
Top
or flop. Right, it's time for a bit of top or flop. Here comes the music again. Here we go. Top or flop, George, our brand new feature where we decide former Leeds United, former or current Leeds United players are top players or flop players. This week, George, I have gone for the 2003-2004 season for Leeds United. It wasn't a very good season for Leeds 2003-2004. We went through two managers, Peter Reid and then Eddie Gray took over. We finished 19th in the Premier League. We were relegated. We got to the FA Cup third round and the League Cup third round, and the top scorer was Mark Viduka. Yes, it was dreadful. We finished on, do you know how many points, George, that season?
Oh, I think we finished on about 25.
No, it was 33 with a minus 39 goal difference.
Oh, minus 39. Nice.
Minus 39. It was dreadful. Do you remember when we got relegated?
Of course I do. I mean,
yeah,
how old were you when we got relegated, Aaron?
Oh, God, I can't remember. Anyway, but regardless, we got relegated to Bolton Wanderers.
Yeah, Bolton Wanderers 4-1.
Yeah.
Alan Smith and he's crying and Paul Robinson saying, "Oh, come here, it's not that bad."
We got knocked out by Arsenal in the FA Cup in the third round. We seem to always draw Arsenal, don't we? Swindon. Paul Robinson scored a belter to take it to extra time against Swindon Town, and we won 4-3 on penalties. And then we lost the third round to Manchester United 3-2.
Fair enough. Yes, Rocker Jr. scored. Rocker Jr. scored twice.
He did. So it was, as Jimbo says, a flop season, but we've got 5 players who signed for Leeds and played for Leeds. So your first one for top or flop is this. I'm really scraping the barrel here. I do apologise. We signed in 2003 Jody Morris. Jody Morris, George, can you remember him?
Oh, absolutely. I think he went on to do a bit of coaching at Chelsea, maybe under Dennis White. He was some kind of backroom staff Chelsea coaching after he finished playing. He was rubbish, Aaron. He was a real big flop. He had a big temper on him, didn't he? And obviously he came in on loan. We got relegated. He went back to Chelsea. Skinhead, wasn't he? Up for a fight, wasn't he? He was a scrapper, wasn't he? Real little, he would have a real kind of gob on him, wouldn't he? Liked a little bit of a fight with the opposition. He was rubbish. He was a flop.
A flop. Well, he had 12 appearances for Leeds and scored none. Afterwards, he went to Rotherham, 10 appearances, 1 goal. Then joined, as you say, Millwall. St Johnstone, who went up to Scotland and then went back down to Bristol City.
He was a real Millwall kind of player, wasn't he? Like I said, he loved to get, put in a nasty tackle and then, call you a couple of names, didn't he, by the look of it? So he was, it was nothing.
Do you know, here's a bonus thing question for you. Do you know which team he's managed?
International side?
No. It's a club side.
In England?
In England, yeah.
Wimbledon. I'm going to go with Wimbledon, but I don't remember.
Oh, no. It was, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia. He's appointed manager of Swindon Town on the 31st of January. Listen to this. And then on the 1st of May, he was sacked after just 4 wins in 18. So it's clearly a flop for them as well.
If I remember correctly, it was Swindon that he did some coaching with Dennis Wise and Gus Poyet, who obviously eventually became managers of Leeds United. He was assistant manager, wasn't he, Gus Poyet?
He was.
Gus Poyet was the brains behind it, really.
Yeah, we liked Poyet.
We did.
Right, so top off flop for Jody Morris.
A flop, mate. Absolutely.
He is a flop.
Absolute big flop.
Right, I had a lot of players who joined on loan, so all these players are loan players from this season. The first one I want to go for is Jermaine Pennant. Jermaine Pennant joined Leeds on loan from Arsenal. 36 appearances, 2 goals this season. He was a bit of a fan favourite in the 03.
Absolutely. I mean, Jermaine Pennant has to be a top a top player of that season, a top player. He has to be, because he chipped in with a couple of goals. I think he scored against Chelsea. Really nice goal at Ellen Road. You know, I was listening to a podcast with him on recently, and he was speaking how much he enjoyed playing for Leeds, and he actually wanted to go back. I think even when we got relegated, I think he wanted to go back to Leeds, but it didn't come on. It didn't come through or whatever. And you know, he had this bad temper, this kind of whole sort of bad boy persona and all this rest of it. But I think Jermaine was, he was a good player for Leeds, I thought. And in that season of badness, relegation, I think he was one that, should we have stayed up and perhaps had another go at signing him on the permanent deal, I think he would have been quite well received.
Okay. So you're going top.
I'm going to talk. I mean, Jimbo's saying Flop, he didn't want to be there. But
I didn't know.
You listen to what he says. He did want to be there, Jimbo, and he really enjoyed his time at Leeds, apparently. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I liked him at Leeds. He was probably one of the only players who I thought did okay in that season. He's had a very long list of careers. After that, he went to Birmingham City on loan and then joined Birmingham City. Went to Liverpool, remember? Made 50 appearances. He did. Then he went on loan to Portsmouth. Went abroad, and then he's more recently played in 2017 for Billericay Town, where he made 13 appearances and 1 goal, but he's been everywhere.
Yeah. He was he's retired now. He was with Jamie O'Hara, wasn't it, Billericay? And then he played in Spain for Zaragoza, where he got in a bit of legal trouble, and he was, he's a bit of a naughty boy, but But in the end, he seems like a decent chap in the end, and I enjoyed him at Leeds. I can still see him wearing the white and Mackay, running down the wing,
Okay, right. The next one, who was signed under Peter Reid. So you go top. We'll put Jermaine Pennant in the top category there. The next one was Senegalese former professional player, which was for Leeds, was Lamine Sakho.
Yay!
God, he made 17 appearances for Leeds with 1 goal. It was joined on loan from, do you know which side?
Was it Marseille, perhaps?
Yes, it was Marseille. Yeah. Well remembered. 17 appearances and 1 goal for Leeds. Yeah. At Leeds, he scored. He had a promising debut against Newcastle. That's all I can remember. But then he had a bit of a cruciate ligament injury, and his time at Leeds was over.
It was poor. It was a thumbs down. It was a flop. But it was. At least it wasn't Chapuis or Chapus, who came on. He was a Frenchman as well, wasn't he? Cyril Chapus, I think his name was. He was even worse than Lamine Sakho. I mean, Sakho was just. He was just pants, wasn't he, Sakho, unfortunately. But I think, like you said, we brought in a load of players that season. Chapuis, Sakho, there was a couple of French lads.
Cyril Chapuis, yes. Kamara. He only made 1 appearance on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Chapuis was awful, and I used to get the magazines, Leeds magazines, and I can see it now, the French connection on the front, and they all lined up at the training ground. There was about 5 of them. There was Kamara as well.
Yeah.
Zamora Kamara. There was a few of them.
Didier Domic.
Didier Domic was a defender,
God. Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, he has to go in the top, but again, some interesting memories. Obviously, we were doomed to fail when we're buying in these sort of players, Aaron, on loan and such. Obviously, ultimately, it was a failure, and we ended up getting wrong. But nobody remembers these players. Obviously, Tom says he can't remember him.
Hey, that's why we've brought this feature in, so we can discuss them.
Yeah, well, that's it. Seemed to go down last week. Seemed to have gone down well this time as well, Aaron. So, really good do. Really good do.
Right. Anyway, the next one. So we're going to put Lamine Sakho as a flop.
Yes.
Right. All right. Okay. I'm going to go for this one. You mentioned him earlier on. Rocky Jr. Brazilian. It's now a Brazilian pundit, believe it or not. No idea how. He joined Leeds, made 5 appearances for Leeds and scored. Did he score a couple of goals against Manchester United? I think.
Yeah, in the cup. Yeah, in the League Cup. Yeah.
The League Cup he did.
Rocker Jr. now, you say you don't know how he's a pundit. He can. I'm sure he can still speak, so he can have his opinion on the game. But Rocker Jr. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with flop, but I think he's synonymous with this era.
He is, but I think can you remember when we signed him? We thought, oh God, we're signing this
World Cup winner
on loan, and we think, oh my God, this is going to fire us. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this is going to be great. We're signing of the season, but he. While he was playing, the team conceded 25 times in his 7 appearances.
Wow. 25 times 7 appearances.
And that includes the cups.
Wow. I mean, it's got to be a flop on those stats, but in general, he was like Jimbo says. You can just remember that image of him in the yellow, white mackay shirt. I think it was at Blackburn. I think we lost 4-0, and his shirt is ripped, and he just looks knackered. And you're just thinking that just sums this whole time up completely. Was just like, that was disappointing. Well, it promised so much, like you said. So what a shame. But it just speaks to the whole kind of real kind of enchantment of the whole era, the whole season. Just really, really washed, which it ultimately promised so much. You've got to remember the season before, Aaron, we'd stayed up on the last game with Mark Viduka's goal at Highbury. Had kept us up, and I think we finished 15th that season. And there was a bit more like, right, that was a bad season. Let's get back on with what we were the previous few years. Didn't happen. Brought in all these players, disenchantment, dysregulation, and all sorts of badness came with it, and ultimately we paid the price for relegation. A bit like Brolin, very good player, but flopped. Yeah, he was a really good player, no doubt, but he was real flop.
After Leeds, he went to Siena on loan. Bayer Leverkusen, made 35 appearances there. Went over to Al Rayyan. Is that in Saudi? In 2008.
It's the team that Rodrigo Moreno went from us to.
Well, you know your Brazilian football. In 2017, this is what he last did in a managerial career. He managed Ituano, whatever they are called, in Serie C in the Brazilian Football League. There you go. I'm surprised you didn't know that, George. Right. And then the final one of Top Flop this week is the only signing we made in the winter transfer window that season, Stephen Caldwell. Stephen Caldwell made 13 appearances for Leeds and scored 1 goal.
Now, Stephen Caldwell, his brother, Gary, has just signed for Wigan as the manager. He was Exeter manager for some time. Both centre-backs, I think they were in the playing days. Stephen Caldwell, again, it's funny, nobody remembers these players as part of this squad, really. And that says something when they got relegated. They're even forgettable when we get relegated. So he's definitely a flop. There was, again, like you said, there was loads of people that. Well,
interestingly, George, when he joined Leeds, he was part of a swap deal for Michael Bridges, who went up to Newcastle. He made his debut for the club, starting the whole game with a 2-0 loss against Villa. And since joining Leeds, he became a first-team regular playing the centre-back position. He was playing in there, so.
No, I know he was a centre back. For me, swapping a striker for a centre back, what's that about as well? Starters, and that's Bridges. God, they probably just wanted him to shut up, mind you, just get out the door, just be quiet. And then they can't keep him off. He's always about, isn't he, Michael Bridges? But
Jimbo says, I forgot he played for Leeds, decent player, but we're in free fall. I'll tell you what he did after Leeds. He's quite well. He's been about Stephen Caldwell. Went up to Sunderland, made 76 appearances for them. You'll probably remember him from Burnley, George. He was a real first teamer down at Burnley. 3 seasons there, 104 appearances, 5 goals. Yeah. Went over to Wigan, won the FA Cup with them. Birmingham City, then went to Toronto FC over in Canada. And More recently, George, you like your North American and South American football. He was the assistant manager in Canada in 2019 to 2021. Maybe he knows Mr. Marsh. Who knows?
So he was the assistant manager of the Canadian national side.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a bit before Jesse Marsh's time, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
maybe so.
There we go. Right, there you go. There you go. That's your top or flop this week, George. So we've got 4 flops, would we say?
Yeah, there's definitely 4 flops, sadly. Although, no, I said Pennant was a top player, I think.
Yeah, so flop, Morris flop, Pennant top, Sacco flop, Junior flop, Stephen Caldwell flop. Top or flop? Right, that's your top or flop for this week, and your top or flop. Yeah, there you go. We will bring you some more top or flop action next week. I think we like this fixture, don't we?
Yeah, and it seems quite, it looks like the listeners and people like it as well. So yeah, I like that one. It's a good one.
We might have to do something a bit more better next week. We've got Peter Reid out of the way. We've got David O'Leary. We'll look at some other ones over the next couple of weeks. Right, George, we've got Manchester City at home in the Premier League this Saturday under the lights, 5:30 kickoff. I'll be there. You'll be watching on your jungle stick, I am sure. What do you think to this one? Because this is going to be a tough one.
Yes, it will be a very tough one, and one I would like to, just shine a light on this commenter further up from Inter Spectator, who says, can you both give your opinions about the harshness of football fans the same way we want Fart to help Leeds build? Like you said, Aaron, do we not owe him some time to also build as a manager? So thinking about this game at City.
Hang on. Let's. You've mentioned this comment. I've put it up. Let's discuss this, and then we'll go back to City. Go for
it. Absolutely. So can you go give out your opinions about the harshness of football fans, and the same way we want Fire to help Leeds build? Do we not owe him some time to also build as a manager? Yes, we do owe him time to build as a manager. Really, it's a cracking question. That's why I brought it. It had my attention before, top or flop, and then I go back to it because it really provokes some real interesting emotions and discussions. We do owe him time as a manager to build, and I think that's important. But have we the time to allow him to build? Because you said, I think, Aaron, that in previous episodes and discussions that, we don't have time for players such as Perry, for example. So Perry, with the goalkeeper making errors, we don't have time for him to build. Surely enough, that might say the same thing as we don't have time for Fart to build as a manager as a whole. But that's not me saying that I don't think we should. I think we also do. And I also am the biggest critic of Daniel Fart, and sometimes unfairly, because I do think we do owe him this. He has this terrible managerial record in the Premier League, but he has time to build. And he is building with Leeds United. And for me, is it harsh to say that, if he keeps us up, bang, we need to improve the manager straight away? For me, that might be a little bit harsh, thinking about it properly. It's probably a little bit harsh because, you're thinking, actually, it's difficult because you want success, of course. Can Daniel bring it? Yes. But in the time and the days where we want everything now, can we wait? Can we wait?
Well, can I give you my opinion on this? I think it's a fantastic question. Leeds fans are the most fickle fans in the world. We really are. You, George, are probably the worst because you demand Leeds to, be beating Villa away 4-0, and you expect us to go away from home and tear every team up, and we should be challenging for the top 8, top 7, top 4. But ultimately, the most important thing here is you've got to have a bit of a reality check. We're a newly promoted side. We are a little fish in a big pond. That's the way to look at it, and we are. And what we've got to do is we've got to really, really just float above the water. We don't want to be sinking. We've been there. We've done that. We've had relegation. We don't want to be. We've got to build on something. What you look at here is, you look at what Farke has done since the City game. And yes, I hold my hands up. I was saying something needs to change. Mr. Farke, this can't continue. I've eaten my humble pie. You have, Jerry has. What he's done is remarkable. But the most important thing here, what you've got to remember in all of this, is Daniel Farke has created the unity amongst the players. He has created the togetherness. He's created a team which fight for each other. They fight for everything. As Neil Warnock said, you got to fight for 3 points.
And fight for him as well, man.
And most importantly, he's got Dominic Calvert-Lewin firing in the Premier League. He's got them firing. They're talking about Dominic to be getting an England call up, and that pundits are saying he needs to be going to the World Cup as an option.
We're talking about Bogle as well, Aaron.
So you've got to look at it like that. So he's doing what he can, but ultimately, Leeds are lacking quality. We know exactly where the quality is lacking. We're lacking a real quality goalkeeper. I don't think Daniel knows who his number one is at the moment, and I think Leeds fans don't know who the best number one is at the moment. You then look at the front. We're still shy of a striker. We need somebody to be pushing Dominic. We can't be relying on him next season, because if he has an off season, we will struggle. So we need another striker. And then you look in the middle of the park, we're still missing that 10. We're still missing that creativity. Defensively, I think we've tightened things up. You've got Bogle, who's strong. You've got Goodmanson in there. Biol's been taught with, potentially moving on to Liverpool or whatever. He's been linked with them. You've got Ampadu in that central midfield area. But you look at the other teams. You look at Gruev. I was saying, 4 months ago, his time is up. Now he's hanging on, and that togetherness and that spirit, that team spirit, which Daniel Farke has brought to the club, has built and continues to build, is so important moving forwards. If you say, right, thank you very much, Mr. Farke, you've done what you can, off you go, you rip away and you just shred the immediately time he gets that phone call and gets sacked, you shred every ounce of that togetherness, because you think players don't want to be there. You think, well, stop this. I was here. And as Michael says, are there better managers around? Thomas Frank's record at Brentford has a more proven record is available. But yeah, do you want Thomas? He needs time away. Big Ange needs time away. Those managers who have been sacked this season, they need time away. They need to go and rest up, regroup, gather the thoughts, and come back stronger. And they will do. I can see Thomas Frank going to Crystal Palace personally.
I think Frank will go to Palace.
So, but what I'm trying to say is, it is to answer the question which was said. You've got to think, it is harsh. It is a results business, but he's doing the business at the moment.
He is doing the business at the moment, yeah. And I think we can say, I think as football fans, you want everything now. And if it's not happening now, you're not happy. But, for Farke to build something, he is building something. They are giving him, and credit to the board, they're giving him the time. They haven't, pressed the red button, they haven't panicked. And they're giving him that time to build. And that's really steady. That's really stable. So, perhaps myself, and you said, I'm not the fickleest of the fan. At times I have. At times I have. And like Introspectator says, again, I have high standards of everything and of the team as well. The team fall into that as well. And I'm saying you should have won that. And you shouldn't have slipped up at Villa. But
you forget it. It's happened.
No, I was
forget
just
it
saying.
now. I know, but going back to the question which was asked, you've got to think about. You've got to have a reality check here. Look at what Frank did. Okay, if you're going to base it on Thomas Frank, who was an example which came up there, look what he did at Brentford. He took them up and built. Left probably at the wrong time. He shouldn't have taken the Spurs job on. I bet he regrets that, because look at Brentford now. you look at what you got to build. The project, I think, is key here, and I think you got to, like what Tom says, look at the plan for progression. Top 10 and is part of this plan. What structure do the 49ers have in place? The playing style, the recruitment, I think, is so important in this league. You've got to get that bang on every time. You can't have flops. We've had 4 flops from the 2003-2004 season, and we've discussed them. You look at that. It's like what he says here. Thanks, and I totally agree that Farker's created unity amongst the players, and that should count for something. Stronger team connection, better performance as a team. It's a process. Let him cook. For me personally, I think if he keeps us up this season, and I'm still saying if, because it's still possible Leeds could be dragged into it. If he stays up, he's got a 1-year deal left on his current contract. The question now needs to be thinking about, right, what do we do with him now at the end of the season? He's kept us up. He's met the brief. He's done he's potentially got Leeds to a quarter final of the FA Cup, or a semi-final, or even a final. You never know. What do you do with him at the end of the season? Do you give him another deal, or do you move him on? I don't know what the 49ers. I think the person will give him another deal because he's proven himself. But I do think it all boils down to the recruitment, because there's quality in there. We need to get a little bit of the riffraff out. You're looking at players in there who might need to be moved out this summer. There will have to be some sales. You're looking at Tanaka, Perot, who falls into that category. You've got some players on that fringe who think, right, it's time to move them on. So it's all about the recruitment and what the 49ers are going to spend. I know they've already said there's £100 million in the bank ready to go, but it's all about the recruitment, because we can't be spending 15 million quid like we did on Lucas Perry and saying, oh, we've solved that. You need to be doubling that if you want to prove.
I agree. But I think
those players that we want are going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, but I do think if he wasn't, like I said to you lads, I think the other day, if he wasn't on the end of his contract, I think they would have just kept him on. But I think, like Michael says, it was rumoured that the 49ers will review Daniel Farke's position in the summer, like they did last summer when it was rumoured that they were looking at replacing him. So I don't think the 49ers and Parag Marath having a special connection with Daniel Farke. I think they will.
I said no. I disagree. I think they do, George, because if you remember when he was appointed, it was Farke who was asking them the questions, not the other way around.
Yeah,
so that's massive. I think Parag has got a good relationship with Farke, and ultimately, it's money talks in this league. It depends on the recruitment, the players which they want. How can they give Farke the tools to improve? I think is the key
absolutely.
thing.
No, absolutely.
It's not about the manager improving, it's what support can be given to improve the squad.
Yeah, exactly. And Tom said, what if the other side of it, if he moves on to, bigger things, he might.
Hey, listen, if I don't know, you look at the clubs at the moment who don't have a manager next season. I don't think he'd go to Manchester United because I don't think they're looking. But you look at someone like Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
They won't be relegated. He could say, "Let's go there. It's a bigger club than Leeds."
It might be a position that's out of our control. We might be looking for a manager because he wants to move on, and it all depends on what.
He might want to go back to Germany.
He might do, and like I said, for me, I think the 49ers, always in football, he's done a good job. If he keeps us up, great. But always, you've got to be moving. You've got to be moving. You've got to move.
But he will move, though, George. It's not about him. It's about the background. It's not about one person here. He's got a team of people around him. He's got Parag. He's got Underwood. He's got all these different people with different hats, scientists, all that sort of stuff going on. He's got all them in the background, and they've got to get that recruitment and that money. They've got to get it bang on. If they do, then they can build and continue, but it's not about one man here. It's about the people around him, because ultimately we've seen it. You look at Forest, they sack the manager, but they don't sack the director of football. You look at Spurs, they sack the manager, but they don't sack the chairman. Ultimately, it's all about the people around them, and they've got to get that decision right.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. But and hopefully they do get the right for the better. We at least we're not a circus this season where we look at Forest, fourth manager. Look at when we got relegated. Jesse left and it was a mess. and it was a long time
But
before.
that was because, I know Victor Orta did immediately, he did leave soon after. But ultimately, Andrea Radrizzani wasn't pointing the finger at Victor Orta at that point.
No.
He was still throwing money at him to try and turn this around. There's all other factors which need to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely,
and it's like what Tom says is that 100 million, what the 49ers speak about a gross on net figure. I actually don't know that, because I think there will be some movement in the summer with players moving out. You can see, potentially, I'm just looking at the squad here. Nonto, you'd probably argue, who could be potentially moved on. Even though I quite like him, I don't want him to go. I think he's got a future at Leeds. There are other teams in and around that squad. Other players in and around that squad who you think, well, actually, they might need to go. You look at Dan James. You look at Pirot. You're looking at Tanaka. One of the goalkeepers will have to be moved on as well. Obviously, Melier is going to go. So it's a big summer for Leeds. It's a bit of another rebuild job for me. But that's if we stay in the league. If we don't, then you say, right, okay, we'll build and go again, and then you need Fark to get you back up. Yeah,
exactly. I think Fark stays if we go down. Fark, does he stay? He'll be reviewed if we don't. And Aaron and George, he says, Michael, I don't think the manager relationship with the 49ers is that close. Perilargi and Schmidt were not Fark signings. They were hardly played by Fark. I agree with Michael. I don't think the 49ers have any kind of allegiance to Fark at all. I think if they have the opportunity to, they clearly were looking at replacing him in the summer, potentially. I think they'll see it as, this is what I have. Can he get us to the next level? Personally, I would say no. But I accept your point about recruitment as well.
That doesn't matter though, just because if you sack Fark and bring somebody else in, they still need the resources which they need, and it's not maybe a bit realistic saying it's not a rebuild. It's just building. It's building.
It's building to something. I'm good evening to realists. I mean,
and do you know what? He's got a fair point. I completely agree. Maybe it hasn't, but Fark did call the 49ers out in January. He said, I needed this and they didn't provide it. So you just never know.
Well, there you go.
There you go. And Sign of Nature, what a great name that is. A mission accomplished over 2 49ers. Yeah, absolutely. They've got to throw the money at this. Right, let's get back to it, George, because we need to wrap things up. City at home in the league. 5:30 on Saturday. Under the lights, as you say. City, who I think will win the Premier League. How do you see this one going?
Well, the problem is, the thing is, Leeds United under the lights at Ellen Road is an absolutely different animal to Leeds United playing in the day at anywhere. It can be at Ellen Road, it can be another ground. It's a completely different animal to Leeds United anywhere else. They seem to thrive in that atmosphere. The Ellen Road goes mental for a night game, which it will be just dropping dark at 5:30 at kickoff. People go mental for it. And I believe that. I said to you a while ago, I think the 3 games leading into March is the one where we might get something because it's at home. And I honestly, if City, you can catch City, you can get at them. They're not the watertight team they were years ago. It's not full of incredible. It is full of incredible players, but they're not like world beaters. Apart from Haaland aside, who always does seem to have a little bit of a bad game against Leeds United. We know why.
Well, I think you look at what they did in January. They brought Semenyo in. They obviously got Gueye in as well. They were fantastic. Tighten things up at the back. Semenyo is having the season of his life. Scored against us against Bournemouth.
Yeah, he did. He scored that free kick. Yeah.
Obviously, Agent Haaland will get an own goal hat trick for us and give us the lead salute. That would be amazing if he did.
I think he will.
6-1 home win. Wow.
I think if Leeds beat City, I think Haaland will probably give it the salute. Maybe I don't know if City beat Leeds, but I don't even see if we beat them. I don't think he'll be in a position.
I'm just looking at. I'm sorry, and I'm going to call it. I'm looking at the comments which are coming in. I'm thinking we're going to get something here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the pessimistic one. I don't think Leeds will get anything from this game. I think City will run riot against Leeds. I think Leeds will make it very difficult. I think they'll be very defensively set up. Obviously, they will have the crowd and we'll get some waves of momentum. But I look at that City side and I think, God. It's kind of, for me, the wrong time to be playing because they're just going to kick in. And I appreciate what you're saying there, Tom, saying he's got a feeling about it. And he can't explain it. And I like that. But for me, I think City will beat us quite heavily on Saturday. I can see a bit of a 4-1, 5-1 pasting.
No, I disagree with that. I think at home,
I just find, I'm looking at that squad now. Haaland, you're going to have Bernardo Silva, Semenyo, Rodri in the middle of the park, just pinging it around where he wants. I think they're going to make it very, very difficult for us. And I just think once we get this out of the way, we can really focus on the rest. I think this is too much of a step up. It's going to remind me of Arsenal, this. But I would take a draw. I would take a draw all day long. I just can't.
I think we can get it.
And I will eat that green hat of yours live if we go and beat them.
The yellow one. I mean, what is David?
Whatever it is.
David said he wondered what happened to the Garden Gnome. I mean, you know, rest our big players.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think we will lose Saturday, but we can get 20 points from last game. We could take draw right now. We cannot sit back. We have to be on the front foot, Aaron. You would be scared if we were playing Bradford City. To be fair, Bradford are a decent side. But,
all right, Bradford. Yeah.
But Aaron, no, I agree. I think we need to go for it. I think we need to go at them. It's a home game. We know what Ellen Road is like under the lights. Introspector says it's a friendly anyway. So, it's friendly anyway.
If we win a 99
and a forfeit, Aaron. Are you prepared to a forfeit if Leeds win on Saturday?
I've just said I will eat that hat.
You will eat my bandana hat.
Yes.
If we win on Saturday. Well, if I will post it to you, and I will happily watch you eat that.
I'm not confident. I'm going to save you £2 on the postage and packaging.
And I tell you what, mate, I won't even wash it, so you can have all my hairy matter in your mouth.
There you go. So you'll have to tune in next week and see if I manage to eat that hat, because I don't think I'm going to go for a heavy defeat. George, go on, give us your predictions before I go through the ones in the comments.
You know what? I'm going to go with. I think Leeds are going to win.
Give us a score, please.
I think Leeds are going to win. I'm going to go with 10-0.
Okay, well, that's to City. Yeah, I'll take that. Right, okay, so you've gone 10-0. It's not going to happen. A 1-1 draw or 2-1 to Leeds. 2-2 says Sign of Nature. We've also got, where are the other ones? I've missed them now. I'm missing them. 1-0 loss. 2-1 says Colin. No, not the beard. Right, anyway.
Oh, yes, you can eat my beard. Look, Introspector said they'd like some, bit of that hairy batter. Yes. You can have it.
Right,
Tom says I look like an intellectual French philosopher. Well, that's very kind. And yeah, of course, all the hair.
Well, I look forward to. I hope Leeds win because I would love to eat that hat live. Right. Anyway. Good stuff. Thank you to everybody who's watched us live and around the world on YouTube. It's good to have you with us. Don't forget as well to give us a like and subscribe. Get us up to 400 because we want to get to 500 by the end of the season. George, shave your beard off if we win.
Oh, well,
there you go. That's a fair one. He said yes. Thank you very much to everybody who's listening, and we will see you on the next one.